Alacer. Alacer was a nice boy, and that's why they gave him this lively name. Because his wheat-haired, merry song sprouts smiles to the faces of others, as only a sharp dagger could to expose pale skin. The blood would flow in streams from the wound, but it's like the blush on the faces of the highly decollected young courtesans, who raised their diamond eyes with devout sympathy to Alacer. But Alacer is a kind and cautious young man. He does not flirt with the girls, and they do not take offense at him. Because this future lord was so kind, it was rumored that this future holy young man might not even be aware of the girl's intentions. Let me tell you what Alacer did when he walked around in his mansion, which was surrounded by green lawns and decorated with beautiful angel statues. In the morning, when the yellow angel wings of the sun fluttered onto the horizon, the blond young man got up from his four-poster bed and scribbled down anecdotes into his diary that he had heard in his sleep. Then took off his silk pajamas, put on his shirt, decorated with white lace, and his comfortable brown pants to ride out on his horse to the edge of the green forest, where he had breakfast with fresh fruit. Oh, Alacer! He studied a lot during the day: art, writing, philosophy. Isn't this Alacer a charmingly talented and hard-working young man? He went to balls, laughed, and his silky voice was music in itself for the blushing, beautiful, but medical, let's face it, girls who stood around to listen, curious about exactly what interested this handsome future lord. His smile seemed more dazzling than the expensive chandelier that hung about the barroom of an over-decorated French-built mansion, where he was invited by a friend he had never met. Is it surprising that he had such a lot of recognition? The wind of the autumn night tugged at the cliffs, some staring up at the plucked sky, the once blossoming peach trees as 100 dark spear, and the pale light of the crescent moon shone through the marble-decorated windows that had been polished by the butlers quite truly. As the darkness of autumn became more and more undeniable, the star eyes of the golden young Alacer gazed over the crowd of decorated people surrounding him, beddy with loneliness. Because Alacer had a problem. I know everyone thinks that what could be wrong with such a perfect young man, but he was hurt by the same thing as all of us. Loneliness. His sadness painted precious tears onto the edges of his beautiful eyes at nights when he looked at the dark and mysterious sky, alone. Because he also ached to be a shadow, to wander in the night. He was different from the other giggling gentlemen and from those girls who always wanted to be at his mercy. Alacer wanted to disappear from among them, to be as invisible as the black spider in the corner whose webs were so high upon the ornated wall's corner that the butlers forgot to sweep them off. He wanted to be as inconspicuous as the mud that got caught in the web. I forgot to mention that Alacer, when no one saw him, devoted his time to strange things. He read horror stories, learned Latin from ancient books, looked for witches in the forest that stood next to his mansion, because his admiration for them was almost as great as the collection of butterflies and beetles stuck on the tip of a needle, which he kept carefully labeled in his wooden display case, hidden from prying eyes. The exhumed lifeless bodies of frogs, lizards, and snakes were resting under his bed, and when the moon came up, he took them out to look at them with reverence, because he lacked what was in all these collections. Alacer was ashamed of his attraction to the macabre, because he knew that what he loved it alone. So he was keeping it as a secret, so everyone kept smiling at him, and he smiled back. But when he knew no one could see him, his mouth always turned down. Sometimes not because he was sad, just so that it would finally not curve upwards. Alacer in his white gold mourning now wore his 7-carat smile like others wore their death shrouds, when the beautiful girls and well-dressed gentlemen asked about his well-being, but he was used to it. However, it was not only the fall night at the ball that was as black as a crow's feathers, but also a strand of hair floating by, and a dress. Alacer looked behind, and lo and behold, he saw a pale woman in a widow's dress, crossing the swirl of colors with elegant steps, her many still shining jewels glinting in the moonlight, which only attracted the boy's eyes. He didn't hesitate much, he followed, leaving so many questioning and wondering looks behind him. He stepped next to the widow. Her sharp features seemed indescribable to Alacer, Excuse my words, lady, but as soon as I saw you, Song of the Cross came to my mind. They are always croaking it in the autumn wheat field next to my mansion. How painfully they sing at every dawn. I smell the lavender scent of loneliness every time I hear them. And it reminded me of you. The raw features were not softened, even by the smile on the lady's face, but her thin eyebrows were raised inquisitively. Well, would my widow's dress make such a pleasant impression on the lords? She chuckled sarcastically. She must have thought that Alacer was trying to make fun out of her, so she continued before the young man could open his mouth to speak. I'll let you know, I don't wear my mourning dress for these kinds of balls because sadness blackens my heart and I feel the need to show it off on my appearance. That's just the way I like it. The lady certainly wanted to scare Alacer, but she achieved quite the opposite effect with her speech. Alacer smiled, and now not out of pain. What's your precious name? It's a secret. Say only one letter so that I have someone to sign my poems to, all about mournful loneliness at midnight, in which you will be the mysterious bird that flew away from the side of its admirer. The boy spoke, and the lady just giggled at him, then opened her lead lips to speak. I see thyself's loneliness makes thee so desperate that thou confesses love to unknown ladies in widow's clothes. And yet one would think that thy heart is also full of gold. Alacer lowered his voice to a whisper so that the people wouldn't hear his answer. Gold and precious stones to me are like pebbles to others. If I could, I would kick them away so that I could show you my dark heart underneath the silk. I am curious to see how you like it. Maybe you'd like to wear it upon your widow's dress as a brooch, whispered Alacer, adding carefully. If you tell me your name, I'll give it to you, whether you'd wear it or not. The lady's smile only deepened, and her coldly shining ebony eyes somehow mischievously merged with the young man's longing sky-blue irises. He looked at magnolia first, and at last saffron. Oh, next to it is a burial pit, a bauricle, the riddle of the sky. It shines in the dark. The people looked at each other. The sound of the piano died down immediately as the lady's dress fluttered away. Velvety black shreds remained on the polished parquet. The young man was the only one whose charming face was not distorted into a grimace or shock, but into a bright smile. Since the autumn ball, the strange young man wrote many mournful poems for his dark muse. He signs the ballads of his beloved, which no one had ever heard, in solitude. Maybe a few heard it. The moon and a black crow below. But even in this isolation, Alacer no longer felt as alone as before, because in his memory he saw the muse dancing, and he wrote down all of her movements. So when his eternal listener came up again, he would sing it all to him, in the hopes that he would reminisce about it to the dark lady. A black crow and a white dove does not fly next to each other on the horizon. However, there is no doubt that both fly under the same sky. Only the one is in the front, and the other at the back. The people will always smile at the sight of the one that flies in front, because they think life is colored white, and death is black.